This is the Conscious Hour, and let's talk about finances and where we're headed. Robert Pape is a professor. I've seen him before on other shows. He does great predictive modeling, and he's been right on for years and years and years. Pay attention.
Otherwise, he's just likely to let it keep going and even over the cliff.
Professor, I'm going to go back to a
Trump
tweet that you sent a couple
continuing
days ago. You've just hit on it. I'm just going to read this out for our audience here. It says, within 10 days, parts of the global economy will start running short of critical goods. After 30 years studying economic sanctions and blockades, I don't say this lightly, not just higher prices, shortages, markets are not ready for this. So I think you hinted at that when you talked about these cliffs that we're going to go on. Can you expand upon that? Let our audience know a little bit more.
Yeah, so what I do that is different, and not just react, but I try to give frameworks. And by the way, I teach frameworks for 30 years. That's why I'm teaching for the U.S. Air Force. I'm not teaching how to put a bomb on a target. I'm teaching how military force interacts with politics in frameworks. And that's what's been so useful here for policymakers, students, and now I hope the world. So the bottom line here is that when you study blockades, and these are economic blockades, often in war, and I've studied them for 30 years as part of my economic sanctions work, my air power work, which also looks at the naval blockades, you see a clear framework, which is in the early weeks of a blockade, what you end up with is disruption of goods that go in, which increase the price of the good inside of the entity that's being blockaded. In this case, the world is being blockaded. So, but it increases the price, and the reason is because there's stuff left in that country. There's material, there's stockpiles, and that's why the blockades, they increase price. But then after about 4 or 5 weeks, maybe 45 days, you get a different stage. That's the stage where those stockpiles run out. And that's where you get true shortages. Now, you've had fear of shortage. That's why the price went up in the first 45 days. But after 45 days, now you actually have shortages, and you really see those shortages materializing because you have South Korea, you have the Philippines, you have Asian states already going to Pakistan to 4-day work weeks now because there are actual shortages occurring. Well, after the next stage beyond that, say day 60 to 90, now you get to the third stage, which is contraction of commodity production, because you don't have some alternative supply source for 20% of the world's oil, 30% of the world's fertile. There's nothing like that just sitting around waiting, lying idle to be plugged in. So what you end up with is a 3-stage, which is price rise, shortage, contraction. And I published this a few days ago, and you see now we have the IMF coming out basically explaining this. Here, I'm giving more details, and then also I'm comparing it to the 1973 in these stages. So you can really see that in the 1973 oil shock, almost identically, the stages happened there too. Same with the blockade around Japan to get Japan to surrender in World War II. There's these 3 stages, and once you understand the stages, then you know what to look for at each stage as the hard indicators, and that is then gives you a heads up on the risk that's coming. And so we're at day 46 right now, so we just passed day 45. And with the U.S. military blockade, in addition to the Iranian blockade, there's precious little going to get out of the Strait of Hormuz at this point. Maybe it's a couple ships here and there, but we're not expecting a flood, that's for sure. So what that means is that this is likely to be a predictive model that you're likely going to see here by May 1st. You're going to start to see real shortages happen, and they will start to be reported in the newspapers. And then by June 1st, that's when you'll probably start to get the first actual reports of true commodity contraction. Producers producing less of furniture, producing less of medical equipment, producing less of automobiles. There will be just generalized contraction as those inputs now are not just more expensive, they're just not there. So that is where the real rub comes. And that's why you will see, as much as they're screaming and shouting right now, we got to end this, we got to end this, wait till May 1st and then wait till June 1st. And then this is going to then go on. And that's what happened why the 1973 oil shock, that went on 151 days. 151. That's exactly the number of days it went on. And that was enough to send the U.S. economy into stagflation for 8 years. Interest rates on homes at 16%, not 6%, 16%. So we need to understand that this is really why Hormuz is so important, and why what's occurring here, the real effects are coming. They're lagged, but they're not lagged for 20 years.
Everyone, I hope you're enjoying today's interview with Robert Pape. I love learning from some of the smartest minds in geopolitics, business, and life. And I want to take a moment.
Cyrus does great work. Cyrus Jansen. I watched him when he was broadcasting from China, and then he left China and came to the United States. This is the Conscious Hour, folks, and this is what we've got headed toward us. Yeah, big train wreck. Trump needs an out. Trump needs an out, and he needs it now, because he doesn't want to have this on his watch. And that's why the Conscious Hour needs to be involved. It's real simple, folks. I create solutions for complex problems. I've been studying this for a long time. I'm not an economist, but I definitely know where to go. And I know the people have got the answers and the solutions for the ticket. We just got to get Trump to be able to say, no more, we're done, we're walking away. Tell Netanyahu, pardon me, expression, go fuck yourself. We ain't doing this anymore. Nope, we're going to stop this war. We're going to start building the economy, keep it on track, and prevent a crash from coming. Seems logical, doesn't it? Come on, Elon, let's get this shit together. Got to get that door open. Yep, because it's going to affect everything. And like the professor said, it could go 6, 7, 8 years of damages. Slow recovery. So the old question is, do we learn from our mistakes? In this case, I pray we do. This is the Conscious Hour, folks. Thanks for tuning in. I didn't do the intro properly because I wasn't going to broadcast this, but I'm definitely going to broadcast it now. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the like and share button, and let's turn the world around. It's our turn, folks. We got the mind power, we got the willpower, we got countries that don't want this to happen, so we can turn it around. But Trump needs to be the conductor, and he needs a conductor to get him off that cliff he's going over. It's the Conscious Hour. Thanks for tuning in.